there will be more people joining us. Hello, Moni. So hello again. Welcome to the session on impact, innovation, and tech for good. My name is Bara, and I'll be facilitating this session. Before we start, let me just mention a few things. This session is recorded, and we would like it to be a very interactive session. So please, if you can, share your questions via the Q&A tool in the chat on the right, or you can also share, request to share your audio and video, and then I'll get notification and can approve you to get on the screen and ask your question directly. So it's your choice if you do that or type your question in the Q&As. So let's try the chat for now. If you could please let us know what your expectations are from this session. And again, the name is Impact, Innovation, and Tech for Good. And while you're typing your expectations, let me introduce our speaker, Carlos Sentis. He's a social entrepreneur, consultant, and lecturer. He focuses on innovation, impact, international relations, and many other topics, just to name a few. He speaks Spanish, English, Chinese, French, and Arabic. He's worked on various projects globally and speaks very often publicly on topics that I mentioned already: impact, innovation, strategy, and other. And today he'll be talking about strategy, career development, and impact maximization. We are very happy to have you, Carlos, with us, and thank you for joining us to share your experience and knowledge. The screen is yours.
Thank you so much, Bara, for the invitation. It is a great pleasure to be a part of this initiative, this event. I know that there's a lot of people coming from different parts of the world, and I am really pleased to at least try to share some of our ideas, our models, and try to provide value in any way. The most important thing is that from now on, we can remain in touch. If there's anything I can do to help, I will be very happy to support. And I have to apologize because I am sitting on the floor. I just arrived to a different city. I'm in Seville because I have a meeting with the Organization of Entrepreneurs of the European Union, where I am a presidential advisor. And I just arrived, so I am sitting on the floor. I'm gonna show you guys because this is me right now. So I hope you don't mind. I'm gonna do my best, but we actually made it, so I'm really happy about that. Again, as Bara said, if you have any questions or is there anything that you would like me to talk about, I will be very happy to do so. And I will just start by saying that the most important thing for anyone, regardless of your business, regardless of your industry, it doesn't matter if you have a job or not, the most important thing is that you know where you're going, that you know what is your purpose, what is your goal, what would you like to accomplish. And if you know that, it's just so much easier to develop a plan, a strategy, and to actually go from where you are at to where you want to go. And I think that is many times one of the biggest problems that we have, that we go to university, we do all kinds of programs, we talk to experts, but we never spend enough time thinking about who we are, who we would like to be, what type of person, professional, what type of activity we would like to do, and more importantly, I believe, what is the impact that we want to create in the world. And when I talk about impact, what I mean is the positive contributions that we can do in the world. What are the things that we're going to do that can help others, that can help our community, or that can help society in any way. And there's just so many different ways and so many different things that we can do to make things better. And that's what we do. I'm going to do a brief introduction about myself and about our organization, but the focus for me is going to be try to be useful for you, for your career, for your success, and try to convey an idea that is a life that has a balance between well-being, so that's mental and physical well-being, health, happiness. The second one would be impact, so how can we be useful for the others and feel more positively about ourselves, about the contributions that we do? How can we feel proud of the life that we lived? And thirdly, how can we be prosperous? How can we make money? How can we manage money? How can we be more successful in our careers? And this combination is what allows you to have a very sustainable, very successful, very prosperous life, which is, this combination between well-being, impact, and prosperity is where all organizations should be focusing on, and also which our lives should be focusing on. And the reason for that is that if you are not physically healthy, or if you're not feeling well because you have some mental health issue or because you're stressed, then nothing else really matters. When you are helping others but your life is not well put together, when you don't feel happy, then again, that doesn't have so much meaning. But lastly, if you're not making enough money, we live in an economic planet. It is impossible to have a life that has all the potential of value for others or for yourself if you are living in situations that are very difficult, that you don't have enough money to pay the rent or to do the things that you need to do in order to take care of your family, or of course, try to build your businesses, your projects, whatever it is. So money is important, impact is important, and of course, well-being must be always a part of the equation. So a little bit about what we are doing at our organization, and what I've been doing for my entire career. As Bara said, I am a social entrepreneur, and that means that I am just an entrepreneur that tries to work on social impact projects. And I've been a consultant for many years, and my goal has always been trying to grow my influence. So at one point, I would be able to create a global social impact initiative with enough resources, expertise, enough knowledge, but more importantly, enough contacts to actually make a measurable impact, actually help a lot of people to have a better life. And my goal is very simple, is try to make the biggest positive contribution I can before I die. I don't know if I'm gonna die tomorrow or in the next 50 years, but my goal is to try to leave millions of people out of poverty, or try to help curing different problems in health. I would love to be useful to educate as many people as possible. And we're trying to use different models and strategies to maximize the impact that we generate. And that's what we are doing, not only for ourselves, but also for the companies and the institutions that we work for. What we're looking for is the capacity of maximizing the positive impact you generate in a way that is profitable for you. How can you, of course, make money? You have to sell your product, your service, but what can you do to better leverage your resources, your employees, your clients, your stakeholders in any field to make a bigger positive contribution? And the funny thing is that the more people you help, the more money you will end up making. So it's just a very positive win-win situation if we think properly and strategically about all we could be doing, instead of just doing a little social impact CSR activity or only just working for money. So this is what we work on, and we have an organization that is called the World Innovation Alliance that I've been building for the last 3 years, and we're going to launch this year. And we have a network of more than 10,000 experts of all fields in more than 140 different countries. And those are our biggest assets. It's a network of people that we can learn from, leaders that can help us advocate for reforms, but also it's people that we can work with to make these projects happen, to take these ideas and take them to the ground, to collaborate with public and private stakeholders to actually make things happen. So that's a little bit about who we are. And now we're launching a very large initiative that's called the Improve Project. It has two main areas. One of them is education, trying to educate and provide training and capacitation of skills for growth for as many people as possible. And we're gonna create for that an open university, and we're gonna deliver training for many, many people. And secondly, we're going to do large networking initiatives. We're gonna bring together companies and employees, and we're gonna bring together investors and entrepreneurs. We're gonna put together kids from schools from different cultures and different countries, so we can face problems like discrimination and problems of human rights violations, but at the same time, we're gonna create connections that could potentially lead to growth. And this is one of the biggest takeaways. You need skills in order to adapt to the new world, to the disruption that is coming from technology and from all the changes that we're seeing in the political, economic, and social spaces. We need to be able to adapt. There's many skills that we need for that. And you're not learning those skills from digital competences to sales and public relations, you're going to be in a difficult situation. But only having the training, only having the knowledge is not enough. In order to make things happen, you need as well to have the human component. You need collaborations. And here's the deal. We keep thinking that we work in one industry or the other. I am a specialist in this vertical. I have studied this on university. the reality is that no matter what business you're in, if it's B2C, B2B, if you're talking, people-to-people exchange, customer-to-customer exchanges, the reality is that everything is human-to-human interaction. Everything is human-to-human business. And if you understand that, then you realize that this idea that just because you have some particular knowledge, you're going to be able to do something, well, that is not exactly how the world works, especially the world that is coming. So we're going to definitely need some skills, and I am very happy that you guys are here. Hopefully some of the things that I share is useful for you, but the biggest part that I want to share is the human connection side. If you have a project and you don't have clients, if you have a wonderful resume, but you don't have connection to a potential employer, if you are an investor, but you don't know the entrepreneurs that have the ideas and the projects that you would like to invest on, if you need friends and you don't talk to other people, anything is just going to be impossible to realize if you don't have that human component. And I'm not talking just about empathy and being a good person and talking to each other, understanding each other, which is very important. I am talking about the fact that without networking, nothing you do is going to ever matter, because probably it's not going to even happen in the first place. And everything that we do it for ourselves and for others, and we do it with the collaboration and support of others. So my biggest encouragement is to do as much networking as you can. And those are the two main pillars of our project, because we think it's the best thing we can do. We've been thinking like crazy, and this is the best we could come up with. Education, for sure. Let's try to distribute that, but also networking. How can we maximize? How can we empower people to get more connected and to create those connections in a way that is beneficial? So with that in mind, I would encourage you to start thinking about your career, your project, your business, whatever is your activity. It can be also in the public sector. It can be just third sector. Whatever your work is related with, please think of what would be the biggest positive contribution you could make, and what are the people and the partners, the allies that you would need in order to get there. And when I talk about allies, I'm talking about out-of-the-box allies, not only the typical partners that you can find in your same industry, not only the people that you've been normally working with, because they are also, like you, experts in that particular field. I'm talking about exactly the opposite. If you are an engineer, talk to people that are more focused on arts, for example. If you are working in the public sector, you probably need some entrepreneurship around you. Whatever you're doing, you need to compensate and balance with the opposites. We need to get out of our silos. We need to get out of the little bubbles that we're in and realize how lucky we are to have everything that we have, knowing that other people are in difficult situations, or at least many times there's people that have more difficult situations and they are living in very unfair circumstances. So let us get out of our bubble to understand what the world looks like, what the opportunities may be, what the people around us need, and what can we do, and how can we interact with others in a way that is beneficial for all of us, but more importantly, that in the very practical sense can lead us to creating a strategy for our future. So in order to make this as simple as possible, what would you like to accomplish? What is the impact that you think you can create? Is that focused on education, on healthcare, human rights? What do you want to do in that sense? And what are the allies that you believe you need in order to get there? For example, you may need funding. You may need partners that help you with institutional support. You may need companies that help you in one way or another. And sometimes you just need clients, right? Whatever project you're doing, even if you're working in a company, you're going to need clients, customers that buy from you. And that is a process that a lot of people don't really realize. It doesn't happen automatically. It's not having a beautiful PowerPoint and then magically you get the clients. It's not about having a beautiful idea and then things happen. It's not only about having good marketing. Everything needs to convert. There's a sales funnel of all the people that receive your message, and then just a few of them end up becoming your clients or your partners or your investors. And what you need to do is to bring as many people as possible to the funnel and try to be as valuable as possible, adapt to them, try to provide value in all ways, so you end up getting all those customers, all those collaborations that you're going to need in order to move forward. So with this being said, which is the main takeaway that I would like you to get from this, which is this goal, impact, allies, and what can we do to provide value. There's many models and many solutions in technology that we can use to make an impact. And there's basically unlimited options of what the technologies and innovations that are available right now can give us to improve our careers as well. But before continuing, I see that there are some questions, or I see that there's some comments, and I am really bad at reading and talking at the same time. Bara, is there anything that I should address?
Thank you, Carlos. The first question is, how do you handle the lack of access to technology among your low-income clientele, particularly hardware? Thank you, Carla, for that question. And then let's get to the second one after you reply to this one. Thank you.
Well, that is a really important question. There's a few things here. The first thing is that there is hardware that is incredibly cheap and that most people don't know about it. Raspberry Pi, I don't know if you're familiar with that, is a computer that has all the functionalities that you would need, but it's just dozens of dollars. It's not 100, and it's definitely not 1,000. So there are technologies and hardware that are way cheaper than what we think, and they are being distributed, being sold at times, being given away for free by charities, foundations, and even technology companies. That is something that can help. But of course, that's not the solution for everything. Another thing, and this is not related to hardware specifically, but it's a very important one. When we talk about the digital divide, we talk normally about the lack of access to internet. Well, because of some of the projects that the amazing entrepreneurs are working on, like Elon Musk and like for some companies like Google, it is expected that in the next coming, I think it's going to be 5 years, 4 billion people are going to have access to internet, which means that access to internet is not going to be the issue. Yes, we have less devices than we would like, but what happens in countries like in Africa and in many other countries that are still in development, what happens is that they do have devices in many cases. They just don't have the money to pay the data for the internet. So the fact that internet is going to be widely available is going to help incredibly to people all over the world. Another of the things that we're solving or we're trying to do in order to address that issue when we're trying to deliver education is we have 3 models. One is our open university, which is completely online, completely available for everybody that has internet. There's a second model where what we're going to do is to download the content of the university. Those are very practical skills. What are the specific things that can help you to find a job or create a job very easily in a very short period of time, right? And that works for people in Africa, that works for people in Asia, that works for anyone, even yourself, if you are unemployed or if you want to change your job. So those skills that are the most practical, they are in this open university. What we're going to do is download that into as many centers as possible. For example, there are conventions in countries in Africa where teachers from all over the country gather to discuss the new trends and new resources. So what we're going to do is download the information there and give it for free, of course, to all the teachers and everybody that attends to that conference, so they can deliver it device through device, copying the information to more people and spreading it around, so there's more people that have access to that. And the third model is purely analogical. And what we're going to do, and of course this is when there's no hardware available, there's no resource for that, what we're going to do is we're going to print the books. You know that all the textbooks are normally just a small piece of a big puzzle, right? And you have first grade, second grade, third grade, whatever it is. And the problem is that if you don't end your school and end your university, it seems that you haven't really gotten anything that you can use in a practical way, at least to find economic prosperity. What we're going to do is we're going to create a book which has all these very practical skills, and we're going to put it all together I would say as condensed as possible, and we're going to print that as many times as we can to deliver it to as many schools as we possibly can. And that's going to be with partners, with companies that are delivering products there. So the whole point is that if you have just that book that can guide the conversation of the skills that are useful, then one book can serve to an entire community, or at least to an entire school. So there are, of course, limits in what the situation is, of course, in countries in development, but the most important thing is going to be that we use effectively what we have. First of all, there's so many pieces of hardware that we throw away because there's a new model of the iPhone that came out. Okay, we need to give away more. There's so much that can be done in that sense.
Thank you, Carlos. A question about how do you advise, and we are coming back to the networking efforts. How do you advise your clients to be targeted in their networking efforts? Focus on industry you're in, cast a wide network. What do you advise?
Well, that's a very, very important question, because you have the possibility of talking to literally anyone in the world. And that's something that was not available before. But now, just by accessing to LinkedIn, you can talk to anyone very easily, or at least try, right? And even if they don't answer, there's other ways, and there's other people in the company, and you can then send an email and call and go to an event. So if it's not here, it's there, but you maybe have the opportunity to talk to literally anyone. And then if you have so many options, then you have to make a decision: is what should I focus on? What should be my ideal target customer? So the first thing that I always tell people, and that's the way we operate in our organization, is that everybody is potentially important for you. Every person is relevant. Every person is valuable, especially when you have a large project. Everybody should be allowed to be a part of it. And that's why we're so inclusive. And we have from interns and volunteers and community members to experts and ministers and policymakers and celebrities and influencers, because everybody can have a role if you allow them to. And if you think with a little bit of creativity, what am I doing that could be valuable for them, and what can they do that could help us to fulfill our mission, right? So everybody could be useful, but then how do we focus? How do we prioritize? And that's going to depend entirely on your strategy. It's going to depend entirely on what you're doing, right? In our case, we have a focus on large organizations, because we need the support of companies or institutions that have very large networks. So whatever we do can be more influential and can reach more people. There's companies and there's organizations that are focused entirely on one specific industry, right? They are tourism industry, fashion industry, sports, culture, whatever it is. They are very, very focused on a specific segment. And that's fantastic. I think that's, of course, the ideal, where you're exactly clear on who you are targeting. And then the biggest takeaway here, I would say, is that you have to be ambitious in who you're targeting, because you have to assume that you may be able to actually reach them. Normally, we are content with less than that, because we think, well, maybe I'm not able to reach that company. Maybe I can't collaborate with them. Maybe this is too much, too high, whatever. And so we start kind of like diminishing ourselves and thinking, I may not be able, so I'm going to just go for something smaller. I'm going to work only with SMEs, or only with entrepreneurs, or only with small customers. Very, and what you do as an entrepreneur is many times you negotiate against yourself. You just don't feel confident enough, so you just go and make yourself smaller and smaller and smaller, and you end up not having a lot of clients that are way smaller, selling smaller things that give you less revenue, and then you end up being out of business just because of your own psychology. So the key focus here is trying to define who your ideal target is. And that means, is it companies or is it institutions? Is it large or small? Is it schools or universities? Is it this department or that department? And that's also very important, because if you're targeting, imagine, companies that have a good brand. Okay, let's say that you're doing communication and you would like to have them as clients because you're an agency or consultancy. Well, you need to target maybe the CMO, but maybe that's too high in the beginning. Well, directors of marketing, directors of communication, people in charge of digital, there's a specific I would say department that you want to talk to. Because if you start talking to CFOs, for example, and you talk to the legal department, or you even ask the legal guy to give you the contact of the marketing guy, they're not going to be happy about it. So you'd rather first decide, what is the department, what is the level, what is the type of organization, and what am I going to do to provide value to them? And you can have some time to think about it. I have spent the last 3 years trying to figure out what is exactly what we're offering. What is exactly what we're doing? How are we going to develop it? And how are we going to make sure that anyone in the world can benefit from participating in our activities, no matter how big you are. And so we're trying to create a value proposition for literally 10 different industries at the same time. So that's crazy. But I think it's I would say an example of how much time you can spend if you are patient enough to develop your product, your services, your value proposition, and to define properly who you're targeting. Everybody has their own time limitations and problems and situations. We all have some resources and have limitations. But what I would suggest is that you spend some time thinking, where are you going? Is it worth going in that direction? Is that the best project, company, brand that you could be doing? If there's something else that you may want to do in the future, why don't you try to start with that? And then you can go slowly but surely, because time is going to be the most important factor to determine your success. How long do you spend going forward instead of just jumping around all the time?
Thank you. I think this nicely partially answers Stacy's question, the following one. I have some undergraduate students in the classroom. What advice would you give them about gaining experience in the field? So if you can develop a little more about what you were just saying. What's your advice for undergraduates?
That's a great question. Start working, and don't expect anyone to give you a job or anyone to give you money or anyone to give you opportunities. Just work. And imagine that you do graphic design. Do you really need someone to tell you to do a logo, to start doing logos by yourself? If you write, you can write alone. If you want to do video, you can do videos for yourself. If you want to develop project in whatever area, it doesn't matter what it is, you can start on your own. There's so many things you can learn and so many things that you can do and so many things that you have to prove to others in order to have their trust, in order to hire you, that this idea that doing internships and volunteering, that is like slavery and that you're not getting anything in exchange of your work, that's ridiculous. I can tell you that I've been working for 14 years already. I'm 32. I know I look tired, so that's why. And the fact of the matter is that as many clients as we've been able to work with, I still work for free 95% of my time. Almost everything that I do it for free. And I have, because I lecture in 12 universities and I have students of all ages, and they keep telling me I am not willing to work for free because my time is worth it. It's like, no, in history, there's not a single moment in life where you wouldn't need to be an apprentice at some time. You need to learn how to do things. You need to be useful. And if you are already useful, great, you have to prove it. Have you proved it? Have you proven it? Because many times you just expect that people know who you are. No, people don't know you. You have spent your entire life with you, right? And you're the only person that really knows you if you get to know yourself. So you wake up and you're yourself, and then you go to sleep and you are yourself. So you're so focused on yourself that you just expect others to kind of like know your abilities. But the problem is that there's millions of people looking for jobs. You have a resume that says very little. Even if you have an impressive resume, it says very little, and competition is so fierce that you have to do something to stand out. So the first thing that you need to do is to be as useful as you can possibly be. So have experience, work, volunteer, talk to the organizations you would like to work with, do everything you can to have a portfolio of experience. And I don't care your role or your, I would say your expertise, what services you want to provide, what tasks do you want to do, what is the job that you're looking for? That doesn't really matter. The most important thing is that you start pushing and that you can show in 2 years' time, 5 years' time, 10 years' time that you are incredibly able to do things, to solve problems, to find opportunities, to help organizations. And when you are able to not only do, but also you can talk to enough people and show them what you're able of, then it is just so much easier to move forward. And for us, it's easier to get clients because, well, we have 500 pages of portfolio. A lot of that has been for free. Unfortunately, well, whatever, it doesn't matter. Can you do more to get further? Can you do more to be more useful for others? If you can, then do it. And then before leaving to Bara, that I know that she has something to say, but I have to finish with one thing is, the future market is going to be very different. The idea of long-term careers in the same space is going to change, and it's probably going away forever. We're going to experience a shift in the economic, in the job market. We're going to see, for example, that 50% of jobs are going to change. which means that whatever specializations there are right now, in a few years, they're going to be completely gone because of the convergence of new technologies. Up to 2 billion people are going to need reskilling every 2 years in order to be up to date with the market. Imagine that you were good at Instagram. Okay, are you good at TikTok? But then there's Clubhouse, and then there's another thing. So you have to be very fast at adapting to what's coming. And the point of this is, with remote work that we have because of COVID, and everybody kind of like is now okay with it. I've been doing it for 12 years, but people kind of like realize now that we have video calls. Okay, now that's going to change a lot, and there's the possibility of working remote from Thailand and Philippines and wherever you want to go, because you can be delivering service. But the most important thing is that you don't need just one employer. You can have several employers. Just think about the following. Where are there more potential clients or employers for you? In your city or in the rest of the world? Where are there more opportunities? Well, obviously elsewhere. But also, if you're asking for a company, you're asking them to cover your entire salary, your insurance, and all these, whatever benefits you want, and you're expecting them to pay forever, and that they're not going to fire you if the market shifts or there's some disruption. Well, they're going to get rid of you whenever they can, if they need, right? But if you have several clients, if you have several employers, you have so much more to gain, because you're always depending on yourself and not depending on just one company.
Thank you so much, Carlos. Another question, coming back to the resources. The distribution of your educational materials is impressive. How have you been able to fund the creation of the curriculum development through your social enterprise?
Well, thank you so much for your words and for the comment, and I really appreciate it. So here's the situation. As I was telling you, you always have to start with what you have to go where you want to go, right? So the first thing is, we are doing it ourselves. I have a small company, we're 10 people. I am doing the content myself, plus our team, plus collaborations and so on. And we're going to have as well faculty members from different parts of the world and experts that are going to contribute. So of course, we're going to have a lot of help. But the point I'm trying to make here is that the way we're doing it is starting with what we have and trying to make it as useful as possible, curate also contents that exist already, and try to distribute it in the best of our ability, right? So we're funded, and we haven't started, so we are not funded yet. We will be funded by sponsorship mainly, but we don't really expect the funding to take care of our operations. What we do is a project that does not depend on anyone, does not depend on sponsorships or investments. What's going to happen is that the more investment we get, the more sponsorship we get, the further we can get, the more people we can reach, the more books we can print. But for many of the things that I mentioned, we are developing them just by ourselves in our own company, by working hard, by thinking, by trying to be useful. And then, of course, collaborations are going to be crucial, because there's many people in the world that are delivering training for free on YouTube, for example, or doing courses, and they are experts at all types of sectors and fields. And when you ask them if they are willing to contribute, like, most people are really willing to contribute. So this idea that you have to have, faculty members that are charging, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of dollars, or that you have to pay for, I don't think that that is needed, especially knowing that we have access to almost resources online. And it's just crazy to me that we are thinking that if you don't have, for example, a big scholarship, you can't access to education, right? So our job is to use all the resources that we can find, plus create materials ourselves. And then with the support of some sponsors and collaboration, we are going to print whatever we need to print, but also have people to help distributing, and also trying to use delivery channels. Imagine that Coca-Cola has to go to a village, right? And because they're going to help, we want to collaborate with them so they distribute books as well. And we're going to try to do that same strategy with many organizations of all kinds. And it's always going to be, since you have this and since you're doing this, can we collaborate this way that does not harm you, that does not require a lot of effort from you, that is not going to require you a lot of investment, but it can have a really important impact on people's lives.
So thinking out of the box again, I guess.
Yeah, and aligning
is the strategy,
yep.
right?
Yep.
now let's invite Lane on the screen as well, so she can ask her question. And Monica and Justin, I know about your questions as well. Thank you for your patience. Lane, it's your time. Thank you. Oh, we lost you.
We lost her, yeah.
Okay, let's continue with Justin. Out of the 17 UN sustainability goals, do you feel there are two or three that will be contentious in meeting in the same period of time and require the most collaboration and negotiation among players?
That is a fantastic question. I think we have to think about it as well, out of the box, as you were mentioning, Bara. I think we have to focus on priorities. And what we're trying to do is focus on the biggest problems that affect the most negatively to the largest amount of people. And we do one thing that we call impact assessment, which is how impactful a solution can be, how negative a problem affects, and also what we do, what we also call the viability assessment. So it's how viable is this solution, how difficult it is this solution to implement, how much money it requires, how many resources it's going to require. So we try to do an assessment to try to define what should we focus on. And that means, okay, these are the main problems and these are the solutions that seem to be more scalable and more useful. So let's go and focus on that. And then let's try to do centralized projects where we bring together companies, institutions from all sectors. And also we allow people to be a part of it. Because many times we talk about the SDGs and we just tell companies to go figure, and we're not enabling citizens, that there are millions of people that want to help and they don't know what they can do or how to do it, or they don't get any reward for doing it. So the reason why I'm answering like this is because the 17 SDGs are a great framework. And I think it's great because it brings people together with this same mindset of, okay, let's try to do things to make things better. But of course, the 2030 goals are arbitrary goals. It could be 2030, it could be 2025, it could be later. There's 17. I think that's a lot. So it's difficult to actually entangle. And also one of the issues that I see is that some of the SDGs are actually connected. So many times when you see a solution, it's like it's encompassing 3, 4, 5 different SDGs. So we just try to think of the focus that we think we can have. So that would be, in our case, we see poverty as one of the main issues because poverty leads to problems in all the other areas. We see the problems in health as vital. Of course, problems in environment, even though I don't talk about climate change as such all the time because I just don't know how to change the temperature, right? So there's a lot of science and people know what needs to be done in terms of emissions. But for me, it's just what can we do practically to improve the environment and biodiversity, right? So we try to just focus on health, poverty, and education because we think that they are the ones that can help lift people from really bad situations. Because when there's, for example, war, when there's poverty, that leads to violence as well. When there's lack of education, that leads to poverty. So these things are all connected. And if you're able to help people have more education and have job opportunities or economic growth opportunities, then most of the problems can be solved in part. At least, for example, a lot of health issues have to do not with the lack of medicines in the world, but because of the lack of medicine access for that person. Or there's treatments. It's just that person cannot afford it because in that city there's no enough funding for that matter. So the whole point I'm trying to make is I believe the SDGs are a great framework. I think that we all agree that poverty is really bad for humanity, that poverty leads as well to violence, lack of education leads to violence. So the way we're doing our work and the way we think that is basically encompassed in the 17 SDGs is poverty reduction, health, environment, and reduce the reduction of violence. I don't know if that was a long answer, but I hope that it gives you some clarity of at least of how I see it.
Thank you very much. Question about companies or trends. The portfolio of companies you've worked with is impressive. What trends do you see in corporate sustainable and impact innovation?
Thank you so much, Para. I think that the most positive trend that we can see is that we are experiencing an improved movement where basically everyone, both individuals and also companies, are starting to do everything they can to become a part of the solution for problems. And the evolution that we have seen in CSR is that in the beginning, it was non-existent. Then it was a little part of communication. So it was like a sub-department in the Department of Communication. And now, not only communication has become strategic for companies, but now CSR and impact has become completely strategic, and it's changing business models, and it's changing the budgets of companies, and it's changing the direction. So first of all, I see that the individuals that work in companies that make a huge difference in the decisions that the company makes are more and more concerned, more and more aware, and really committed to try to make things better. And a lot of times people see it as, they see it with cynicism. They think that companies don't care, they just want to make money. And it's true that they want to make money. But if you ask any executive of any company, you see that if they can't choose between helping or not helping, they help. The problem is when helping others means direct problems for the revenues of the company. And then it's, okay, what can we do to mitigate the risk or the problem, right? But the first thing is that is growing. And they are realizing that even if they don't care about it, they need to care because customers do care, right? And the new generations are more and more, I would say, are demanding this more and more. And so there's no escape. And that's one of the things. Other trends that we see in terms of impact is that, first of all, everything that has to do with sustainability and everything that has to do with circular economy and everything that has to do with environmental protection. Because, a few years ago, there was a lot of debate about if we should do something about the environment or not, which is crazy. Now, if a company is not working towards, zero emissions and things like that, or net emissions, if companies are not working in that direction, they get punished so bad, right? And that happens as well in the supply chains, because when there's, child labor or forced labor, or there's any problem in the way companies treat their employees, both overseas and at home, those things are just not forgivable, and so customers are not forgiving those things. And we're seeing the rise of the social entrepreneurship model, and basically the companies that have as the main mission to solve a problem in a way that is profitable. And I think that is precisely what we should focus on. You have experienced your entire life this dichotomy between, or you make money and you're evil and greedy, or you help the others and you're a saint, and then you're poor, right? The reality is that there's a huge space in between. This model of making money and helping others is just so obviously profitable and good that is the way things are going to turn very, very soon for most people. And we see the gravitation towards the impact economy. And so in terms of social entrepreneurship, we see that investment firms, especially like the biggest ones, like the CEO of the BlackRock investment firm, they already said that they were only going to invest in projects that were impact focused. And the case is very clear. There's so much money to be made in that space, because a lot of times we haven't seen that space as an opportunity, and it's more and more understandable for everyone. And so there's just companies. I would give you a couple of examples. EcoAlf is a fashion brand that what they do is they collaborate with fisher boats to get plastic from the oceans, and they use that to create the fabric of their fashion firm. And then they have an amazing business, and they're making a lot of money, and they're helping governments to clean the oceans, and they're selling fabric from the plastics that they got from the oceans to other fashion brands. So just think about how cool is that not only you make money B2C, you also do B2C, you do partnerships, and you're inspiring everyone. And there's just so many models like that. So what we're doing is compiling more than 100 of social entrepreneurship models where you can build your own company, let's say the Uber of this, or the Airbnb of that, or different types of models with canvases and with frameworks where you just have the possibility of solving a big problem in a way that is profitable. You have Too Good To Go for food waste. You have also, for example, the Halt Price Foundation that I am a judge in, which is the largest social impact contest for entrepreneurship in universities. They have 3,000 universities, project foundations with $1 million for the winners. So what they do is every year they put a challenge, in this year, food waste, and what can we do about food, about the lack of people and so on. And so the entire competition is what are the different business models, what are the entrepreneurship models that we have that could solve the problems in food and make money in exchange. I hope that this answers to your question. So many more examples, it's crazy, but I hope that this answers more or less.
Thank you, Carlos. If you want to add a couple of more examples, we definitely have time for these. So also, for example, what keeps you busy these days? What keeps you interested and engaged and excited about?
Well, I'm excited about everything because I just know that people want to help, that people are more educated than ever, that people are more committed than ever. I see technologies that are just changing what was possible. The definition of what humans can do in the last years, bionics, all the technologies that are converging right now, from 3D printing to IoT to 5G to AI and all its variants. I just saw these days the keynotes of the NVIDIA conference, and they're showing their new advancements in artificial intelligence and what that can do for humanity in general. Just using AI to recognize and diagnose disease, for example, you have more accuracy than with the best doctors in the world, which means not that the doctors are not able or good, they are amazing, is a person not process millions or billions of data and thousands of different variables. It's just obvious. What we can accomplish is better, greater, if we collaborate with AI, and people are thinking all the time that we're kind of competing against the robot. Not the way. That's not the problem. The thing is, we have these new technologies that are converging and creating incredibly, I would say, incredibly valuable solutions for all sectors. You can go every vertical and every new technology, connect them, and you just have a combinatorial of thousands and thousands and thousands of new opportunities for everybody to have a better life and to make money with that. So the problem is not about the competition between humans and machines, is the opportunities that we have if we use effectively technology. We have a huge gap between the available technology at a given point and the technology that we're using. And we're trying to advise on how can we reduce this gap, because there's all this pipeline of technologies that are already existing and that are already useful and that can be implemented directly. And normally we spend years and years because people are very cynical about it, and there's only the early years that are able to fail. And so when something comes out, it's like, oh, that's not going to work. It's not going to work because things are not like that and things are not working like that. Everything is going to change more in the next 10 years than in the last 100, according to the World Economic Forum and many, many other organizations. So that is exciting, a great opportunity. And at the same time, it is, of course, anxiety provoking, and it is overwhelming. You see suddenly NFTs are being sold for $69 million. And people may say, what the hell is an NFT? Well, digital art is unique, and with a blockchain technology behind, allows people to get money from that transaction all the time from that moment to later. And if I said doesn't make sense, great, that's my point. It is overwhelming. But the positive about it is that if we were able to do a lot with what we had before, and now we have new technologies, and we're more connected than ever, and we can have collaborations between people of all ages, all sectors, all types of more. What's keeping me busy? Well, we are launching this project that I was mentioning, and we have different actions that we're going to develop in the coming months. The first one is the General Assembly, where we are going to bring together our innovation labs. So experts from all over the world to try to figure what are the best solutions, the best proposals to advocate for, what are the best reforms that we should push. And so we're going to create a sort of what we call the Reform Act and the Solutions for a Better World documents, where we have a menu of the things that are available and the things that can be done and used, so we can then do a global advocacy campaign to convince people to these ideas. The second thing, we're creating the university. We're going to do a global communication campaign, celebrities, influencers, events, all kinds of channels to reach as many people as we can. Unfortunately, we have already done in the past large campaigns. We did one that reached more than 30 million people, and try to reach 200 million people. I don't know what we'll do, but I will try. And so that's the second part. And the third thing is what I was talking about, this idea of networking. In order to do that, we're doing a project that we call Crossing Borders, and we're going to be doing pilot programs and doing connections both digitally and physically. For example, kids from schools of different countries organize video calls, at least 30 countries. We're going to do that with universities. I have now a meeting with the Organization of Entrepreneurs of the European Union, and we are proposing a digital Erasmus, where students from different countries, not only from the European Union, and to do projects and to grow together. And lastly, we're going to do a lot of digital and physical networking activities to connect entrepreneurs with experts from different fields and connect job opportunities with people that are looking for jobs. So like a massive job fair. It's keeping me exciting and busy, so excited and busy, and that's why I am so tired, but I'm really excited. So please, if you have any interest in our project and you want to be a part of it, let me know, and I will be very happy to have you on board.
Carlos, I think we can see the excitement, not that you're tired, don't worry about it. And we have another question from Carla. Thank you very much. While you are focus grouping with these tech groups for innovative delivery methods, are you including those social innovations intended to serve to see if they are interested, or would be able to participate with these platforms?
I am not completely sure of what you meant, but I'm going to try to answer because I think I got it.
Maybe Carla, if you don't mind joining us on the screen, if you could ask your question yourself, maybe it would be much better than me reading it. Would you like? I'll try to.
I think I can answer. I'm going to try to answer, and if I'm not, I'm not saying something.
Carla is joining us.
Okay, cool.
Thank you, Carla.
Hi.
Hi, Carla.
Sorry, I'm in a room, so I have a lot of echo with audio. I am muted completely. My question is really targeted at how are these innovative processes connected to the clients that they're intended to serve? And is there a potential disconnect there between the social enterprise aspects and those that it's intended to serve?
Carlos, I think you muted yourself.
Yep.
Thank you.
Because there was some echo. Yeah, so Carla, you mean about what we're going to do ourselves, right? Our own project. Okay, got it. So here's the idea. We are going to try to identify what are the solutions and the models and the innovations that can be implemented at scale and that can be implemented by all types of organizations. So we are going to bring experts, and we're going to do a lot of research, plus all the research that we have done in the past, plus the collaborations with other platforms. And we're going to try to identify the solutions that we see that are the most valuable. And then we're going to do advocacy to try to introduce these solutions and these models to more than 100 governments and more than 1,000 organizations. Now, we don't know if we want to implement one or not, or if they are going to be interested or not. We can only make the case that there are solutions available that people don't know about, and that there are ways to implement them that is cheaper and more effective than what it seems. And there's an example. There's drones that can plant up to 100,000 trees in just one day, because they throw like bombs that have seeds inside. And that's a solution that can help planting many, many trees. There's companies that they use their volunteer day to go and plant some trees. The problem is that they go and they plant maybe 100 trees. So, well, if you're thinking about the effectiveness of the solution, obviously the drone is going to beat that. If you're talking about a beautiful team building exercise, well, you can go plant trees. The problem is what we're basically trying to propose is there are these ideas of great impact, but also great team building. There's many of the things that can be done that could be also very interesting for the employees. There's models that we have, for example, the public-private social collaboration approach, where we tell companies that and you have 1 billion users, well, you can do a program, a club or something, where the action. And if that action is more or less connected to what the company is about, for example, financial inclusion or poverty reduction or microcredits or entrepreneurship, there's this possibility where through the actions of the company that not only involves the partners and the providers and the 100,000 employees you may have, but also the millions and millions and millions of clients that may or may not want to participate, but they have the option and they have a reward. And I give you another example. Another of the models is impact tourism. What we're proposing is that OTAs, which is online travel agencies, like Booking and TripAdvisors and things like that, and airlines, hotel chains, and others, they empower citizens and travelers to make an impact in the destination. How? Well, imagine that when you're booking a flight, you get the option of, since you're going to the Philippines, do you want to clean a beach for 1 day and get a free hotel night in exchange? Or you're going to Kenya, since you're going there and they have lack of access to good education because they don't have enough teachers, and you probably know enough to teach kids, would you be willing to teach some kids for 1 day, and we give you a free safari tour or a free visa or a recognition as tourism ambassador of Kenya? So there are these experiences that are completely useful and valuable. They solve a problem and you can get something in exchange. And the company just needs to facilitate because they have these huge communities or these huge client databases. And then in terms of pure innovation, all the companies are completely aware of the changes that are happening, and they are aware of the fact that there's disruption happening, but they don't know really what they can do about these different technologies, and they just listen to a buzzword and it seems to be popular, and like, okay, blockchain, let's do blockchain, or whatever the new term is, AI, and people it's like, yeah, let's do AI, and there's just so many different types of AI. So the question here is, can we spend some time doing an assessment of all the available solutions and all the available technologies, so then we can try to make a decision that is informed, that tell us this seems to make sense and this seems to not make sense? In our model, it's pretty simple. We're going to have some sponsors, and everything we do is just going to be funded by that sponsorship. All the rest for us is 99% of the work is going to be non-for-profit, even though we're a company. When we do consulting, well, a lot of the things that we propose, we're talking about it very openly. These models that I've been developing for years, I am just sharing them in conferences online and physical events and on media. I want people to use them. I don't care if they mention me, but when they want us to help develop those projects, then we would have a collaboration where they pay us and we help them to implement in a more deeper way. Yeah. And I'm seeing that you work directly with a homeless population in Florida, and you're trying to push programs. One second. I'm trying to read. 1 second. Yeah, and for that you're doing, Carla, is amazing, and I am really happy to know that you're doing it. She's helping homeless people, or at least working on to try to help them. And there's many operational problems, but what we try to see is who could help solve those operational problems, because they are already there. So sometimes, for example, is food that is, imagine that a catering company, a restaurant, supermarket, they have food that is left over, but it's perfectly healthy, perfectly usable. And the biggest problem is normally that in order to use that, you would have to take that food somewhere else, and that transportation cost is higher than throwing the food, so people throw the food. It's not because of regulation. Regulation doesn't say that you can't eat that. So the problem is that it is more expensive to move that food than to actually throw it out, right? So the question is, are there any NGOs, partners, volunteers, universities, schools, anyone that could help moving, or other ways we can inform effectively through billboards that have digital information, through an app, through shelters, through whatever means we have? Can we inform people, hey, today we have food here and here and here, go to the closest place, just like we have with Uber and with all kinds of softwares that or applications that just tell you what is the optimal path towards a destination, what is the optimal path towards food, or what is the best way we could solve the operational difficulties of whatever thing you're trying to do, regardless of it's delivering education to them, food, or other solutions.
Amazing. We are coming to the end of this session, but before we really finish, would you like to conclude? And also during your conclusion, Carlos, there is a message from Megan. This is amazing. How can we start getting involved and learn more about the initiative?
Thank you so much. It means the world, and I am really, really happy. Well, the first thing is that you're all invited to be members of the community. So that's going to give you access to a lot of stuff, and we're going to be very happy to collaborate. And whenever you can do something, you will be able to do that. But we're not going to have expectations. We're just going to try to support each other. And that's the model forever. This is not a one-year project. This is for the rest of our lives, okay? So we have a form, and I would love everybody to be a part of this. So please go to the form. I'm gonna put it here. It's wa.world/join. And then you just have to fill the first part, which is like the personal information. And we will know a little bit more about you. And then you will receive a ton of information in the coming months. We haven't launched yet, but when we are about to launch, you will receive a ton of information. The most important thing, again, is that we're in touch. Also, you can follow me on LinkedIn, that I post a lot there, and I try to give value however I can. And let us be very close. And I see that there's right now 22 people looking, watching this session. If we have less than 22 people coming to the project, I will be very disappointed, because this is something that is going to help your career. I'm going to push, and I'm going to give you access to a lot of resources. So I would really love all of you to become a part of it.
Thank you very much, Carlos, for your insights, for your excitement, for sharing your knowledge and your plans for the future and what you've been involved at. Safe travels. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for this session. Now there is a break, and then my colleagues will welcome you for the cooking classes. So enjoy, and bon appetit.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.